Hello there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, the edutainment channel where we are trying to learn more about nature by playing games. Now we are back in Ark Survival Evolved, and as you can see we've got a whole colony of hesperornis that have started to, well, establish on our rooftop over here. As they have been breeding, we just have a whole bunch of babies, but we also now have a greenhouse finally set up complete with irrigation and all, and we are growing our most important crops here as well. So we've got long grass over here, which is basically corn. We've got savor root over here, which is supposed to be like potatoes. We've got citronal over here, which is like lemons, I guess, and we've got rock carrots, which are like carrots. And then we also have some medium plots with the same crops over here as well. We also have narco berries, 2 plots, and then we also have some stem berries here at the end because those are also going to be important. We also have a compost set up over here for compost bins, which will help us make fertilizer slowly but surely. And we can actually top up some of the poop over here as well. And then we can use the fertilizer on these crops. Now we are trying to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can in order to make the compost there. We do have a little poop machine. Now I'm not sure where the poop machine is because there have been a few Dilophosauruses that have come in here. So as a result, a lot of animals have run everywhere else, as you can see here. There's the Phiomia. Believe it or not, this is actually a primitive elephant. I'm just going to get you to stop following so we can have a good look at you. So notice over here, it has a primitive trunk over here as well. It also then has at the bottom, on the bottom jaw, these 2 weird projections. Now, these 2 teeth that stand out like this, it's some of the later members of the elephant family. They actually had very large flattened teeth. Those would be the Platybelodonts. They would have had these flat teeth as well. And then the Dinotheria would have had these lower jaw tusks which actually curled around and became quite formidable, or looked quite formidable. The exact use of these lower tusks, not quite known, but it is most possible that they would have used these to scrape bark off trees. Elephants nowadays will also use their straight forward-facing tusks to scrape bark off trees, and then of course they eat the bark as well. Now interesting with elephants, they tend to favor one tusk over the other. You'll find left-tusked elephants and right-tusked elephants, where some of them will scrape the bark off with their left tusks, some will scrape the bark off with their right tusks. And as a result, one tusk will wear down more than the other. So you'll be able to quickly see, if you look at any elephant, you'll be able to see whether it is a left tusker or a right tusker. I forgot, the reason why I actually have that Phiomia over there is that if we put a whole bunch of berries in its inventory, like that, and then we force feed them stem berries, they are going to poop out a tremendous amount. So, to paraphrase Dr. Ian Malcolm, that is one big pile of poop. And now we've got to pick it up. But here we have a whole big pile of poop that we can now use either in the plots themselves by just depositing it, or we can go to our little compost bins and we can just put it in there so that fertilizer can slowly be made. Yes, what I wanted to show you as well, we have got a creature that is somewhere on that side. Can't see it now, but we are going to hopefully try and tame it today. But that creature needs beer, and as a result we have started our little brewery over here. Unfortunately, it hasn't made beer. It takes quite a while for a single beer to be made, so I'm just going to let that run while we go about. Now there is another creature I really would like to tame. As we get more and more creatures, it still wouldn't be the same if we didn't have that one there. And I think I saw one up here at some point as well. Unfortunately, I cannot find it, but what I could find is the creature we need to tame with beer. Chalicotherium. And there it is. Isn't that just a marvelous creature? A knuckle walker, as you can see there, walking with its hands curled inwards, walking on its knuckles. sloped back, much longer front legs and back legs. Similar design to what you will see in hyenas nowadays, but hyenas is a completely different story because they are predators and kind of use their hind legs to dig into the ground when they have caught prey. This design you'll find in amongst herbivores were things like giant pandas, gorillas, and also the extinct giant ground sloth, Megatherium. They had similar designs. Let me just get out of his way so he doesn't get angry with us. We don't want him accidentally chasing us because we don't want to hurt him at all. There's a female. Now looking at this weird creature over here, it looks as though there's nothing alive today that looks similar to this, but they are. These guys are related to horses, tapirs, and rhinos, believe it or not. Most closely related, or more closely related to tapirs and rhinos than they are to horses, but they do have kind of horse-like features. Now in this game, Chalicotherium, the species that they have got here is, I think, Obsidioequus, which means the war horse. Now the genus name Chalicotherium means gravel beast. Not because of gravelly color or hard bones in their skin, but instead because the teeth, when they were first discovered, kind of had this gravelly appearance. And the paleontologist that described them saw that resemblance and said, you know what, we're going to call this the pebble beast, Chalicotherium. So since we couldn't find the creature I wanted to tame, let's just quickly talk about the greenhouse, because there's a good reason why one wants a greenhouse, both in the game and in real life. So in the game here, you can see there it's got the greenhouse effect, 300%. Now the greenhouse effect, if you're looking at the world, when I was a kid, we used to say that the greenhouse effect is bad. Oh, because of the greenhouse effect, everything's dying, blah, 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 blah. But that's not correct. The greenhouse effect is extremely important. The greenhouse effect basically means that the Earth is kept at a relatively constant temperature. Because of gases like carbon dioxide and methane in the atmosphere, it traps some heat, and as a result, we don't have this massive drop in temperature at night. If it weren't for the atmosphere and the greenhouse gases in it, we would probably freeze a bit to death, especially if you are already living in a colder environment. However, too much of those gases, of those carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxide and especially methane, that will result in the global temperature, of course, rising as we are experiencing on Earth now as well. So too much of a good thing is also bad. But in essence, if you have something like a greenhouse, now this would be a hell of an expensive thing to actually build. My wife and I contemplated getting one, but not like this at all. We definitely can't afford that. But a greenhouse like this would keep the crops relatively safe from things that would feed on it, so you would have higher yields. You can also control the temperature in here a bit more. If it gets too hot, you can open up windows and then you can let the air through. But the problem is that if something gets in here, for example a fungal disease, there's very little airflow unless you actually pump air through here, which we can't do in the game here. There's very little airflow here, and it's very easy for fungal infections to actually spread amongst your crops. Very often the plants are also planted very close to one another, as you can see here, and it's easy for, especially here, we've got two saver roots next to one another, and if this one over here gets affected by a certain leaf fungus, for example, it's easy for the fungus to, of course, spread to this one over here as well. And then you eventually may start losing your crop altogether. A mildew in particular will spread very quickly if you have very little or too little ventilation in an area. Even outside, there's a good chance that at some point you're going to have powdery mildew on things like cucumbers and so on. Oh, we've got beer. Okay, so we may actually be able to go and tame a Chalicotherium, which would be marvelous. I really want to do that. But in any case, as I was saying, you need to keep an eye out on how closely you space your plants, because if you space it too close, you are probably going to have a few problems there with things like powdery mildew. And even outside, we have Jerusalem artichokes, and whenever we have cucumbers even outside, we always have problems with that. Let's take that and that and that. Now, we're not bringing any backup with us now. If the pawpaw hits the fan, then we are in trouble. Okay, and I can see one. Which level is that one again? A level 12 Chalicotherium. Okay. Now, the thing is, you need to put the beer on your last bar there. And then you'll need to try and sneak up on it. Now, we have a full ghillie suit on, which will make us slightly less visible to the creatures in the area. And hopefully, it therefore does not aggro on us. There's the other one in the back there as well. Hello, Chalicotherium. The old weird horsey creature. Of course there are raptors here. And now they're going to kill this thing. Possibly. I really should have brought backup, shouldn't I? Oh, I've killed both. But I am being thrown by the Chalicotherium.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
No, I don't want to kill you. Oh. Well, that's unfortunate. And that's our first death. Okay, so now of course we need to go and get our stuff. Thankfully not too far. I knew I should have brought backup. Or at least bowl out the raptors. Another question is whether that Chalicotherium is still at our body. It is. Hopefully he does not attack our Ichthyornis. It does. Oh dear, I think the Ichthyornis killed the Chalicotherium. Well, that's what you get for killing me. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. Now let's go find the other one, shall we? What level are you? Because that level 12 messed us up. Oh, this is a level 16. Oh dear. Let's hope he doesn't feel threatened by us. Just keep walking, little one. You beautiful little beastie. Ah! Well now, there's our first Chalicotherium. And we've called him Survivor because of the two that we were going to tame, is the only one that survived. Oh, wow. Right, now we are just going to get this guy to just sit over here. There he is. Okay, because Chalicotheres, like this Chalicotherium over here, would have occurred in relatively open areas but with trees, because similar to the Therizinosaurus, which had massive claws, these guys would have used their claws in the front here to also hook branches closer so that they can eat it. And then, there I just saw a mistake there with it, interesting. And then they would have fed on either the leaves or the fruits on the branches that they then get. So there have been analyses on the teeth wear, on tooth wear patterns, and that's consistent with eating leaves and fruits. Now, the mistake I spotted with the Chalicotherium here is if we actually look at his mouth. Now, never look a gift horse in the mouth, but you can look at a gift Chalicotherium in the mouth there. And if you look at the upper jaw, you'll see that there are teeth. Now, that means one of two things. Either they made a mistake, or this is a young one. Because Chalicotheriums, when they were young, they would have had teeth in the upper jaw. But then as they got older, they actually lost all their front teeth, their incisors in the top jaw, and only had the ones in the lower jaw remain behind. And once they had, of course, gotten their food closer to them, they would have actually used their lower jaws in conjunction with probably a very thick palate and top part of the mouth, and then also lips, rubbery lips, to actually strip the vegetation off the branch. So very weird, perfectly adapted organism for living in a relatively open area, but with some trees, with fruiting trees as well. Now, they survived for an extended period of time, from about 16 million years ago to just around 2 million years ago, although some of the Chalicotherium, some of the species in this group, did survive to about 780,000 years ago, so much more recently. Occurred mostly in the northern hemisphere, but there were also some in Kenya, for example, that were found, but just north of the equator, so technically still northern hemisphere. And notice the way it sits. This is most likely what Chalicotherium would have done. The hind legs were for supporting their weight, especially when walking. When walking like this, the weight would mostly have been carried on the hind legs. They were quadrupeds, so they were walking on 4 legs. And then when they would get to their food, they would sit down, and then they would just chill and feed on the branches around them, or the trees around them. They have found some callosities, which are thickenings on the bones in this case, or on the buttocks, which indicates that they would have sat down like this when feeding, and probably spent quite a lot of time sitting. Like, imagine you spent your whole life just sitting down, working, playing, everything you do, you were sitting down. You would also probably need some callosities on your rear in order to, survive and manage. But yeah, that is the Chalicotherium, and that is quite awesome. This little guy, really, really love it. So as the army of creatures around us grows, and our base is becoming more of a home here, this is where we are going to end today's video. So thank you once again, everybody, for joining me on our little adventure. Remember, I do have a Discord. I'm starting to get that a little bit more active now as well. Link for the Discord server down below. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to the channel, help the channel grow so that we can reach more people and teach more people about the weird and wonderful creatures living on this earth, or that have lived on this earth. Also a reminder that I will be streaming tomorrow, 6 p.m. for my time, which is in South Africa. I'll have the times for that in your regions down below. So feel free to pop in here on YouTube, watch the stream, chat with me a bit there as well, or comment, whatever you want to do. It'll be great to see some of you guys there on the stream as well. So I'll be playing Subnautica. We're going for an underwater adventure on an alien planet. So until next time then, everybody, stay safe. I will see you all soon.